Lately, I've been thinking a lot about texture. I mean, how do we use it in a picture? Um, it could be the folds in the bottom of a painting, or the trees or telephone poles that line a landscape. I think what texture does is tell the viewer, don't look at me, you know, I'm not important, but I feel the picture and make you feel awesome. The mountains here have these really cool facets, but obviously they're not the most important things in the painting. So texture is to keep a viewer's attention away in a picture. It's telling you, don't look at me. It could be a pattern, like these folds in the sleeves that are so evenly created. The evenness of these buildings also create a skyline texture of sorts. So here I drew out some textures in these bars. Here is some, in the second row, some plants that I drew. Notice that when I do these, they kind of fade off into like a white, bright light to the right. This one is like the bark. This one is the road, drawing the cracks on the gravel at the bottom of the page. And this last one is the sky, the clouds, the darker blue sky against the white clouds. So I used to intern at a architecture place. I believe this drawing is by Ahmad Jafari, who I just worked under for one summer. If you notice to the right, there are like faded out elements, kind of like what I was practicing in architecture. You do this so you don't have to draw everything, but also it kind of suggests that the sun or the light is hitting it. And notice something like the bricks here, whether it's the sun or just how that texture is working. You leave out some, you don't have to draw literally every brick. And then notice how the trees, he just indicated in the sunlight in the back. So a background can have, say, mountains that are in the distance, and if they are put in lumps that are very regular, there's no outstanding peak, it makes you kind of look away as well. So any pattern or anything of similar sizes tells you, don't look at me, I'm not the focal point. Today we're talking about textures. I wanted to revisit an old painting I had been doing, and you might recognize it. It is the banner image of my YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, it's like cropped like pretty badly, but this is a full image. This was like a wood panel I got from Michael's. But I've always wanted to finish it. I think as artists, we always don't feel like we finished something. Like there's like just really rough, like you know, like clothing textures and things that I'm not quite happy with. Actually, it looks pretty good on camera, like the waves and stuff. But you know, like, yeah, there's just little things that I do think could be better. And surprisingly, I think like months after last touching this piece, I'm like, hey, good job, not too bad. But yeah, the original story is Revelation 1. It's John's vision of Christ. So it says, I, John, your brother and companion in the suffering and kingdom and patient endurance that are ours in Jesus, was on the island of Patmos. So this is John like kneeling before Jesus when he like kind of sees him being revealed. John says, I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me, and when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. So the 7 golden lampstands are here, like surrounding here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I might be missing one. Oh, there's one back here. And these represent the 7 churches. Among the lampstands was someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet with a golden sash around his chest. So I try to stick pretty close. You know, like a robe down to his feet and a golden sash around his waist. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. So it was very hard. I tried to make his eyes white, but it just did look very unhuman. So I think I did some like dark reddish color here. And then I also did white, but then as I painted it more and more, I realized it was blending with like the glow of, you know, like the sky. So it just got darker and darker. So call it like a aged gray. Let's see. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. So his feet were like bronze. Again, I started with this like bronzy metallic color for his foot. But I think the more and more I painted it, it just started either blending with the sand or it looked really funky. So yeah, I think that's kind of partly why I started, you know, like thinking too much and then kind of gave up on this picture. Anyway, in his right hand, he held 7 stars, and coming out of his mouth was a sharp, double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. So yeah, his hand has like 7 stars, which I should look up. I think that means something too. 7 stars in Jesus' hand. Jesus' right hand. It's his sovereignty over the 7 angels of the 7 churches. So interesting. Yeah, and then so this scroll is the one that he's telling John to write his testimony of. Hence, the book of Revelation happened. But all this to say, I think I wanted to get back to this painting at some point. I started painting shells that I saw at the Natural History Museum here in LA. Yeah, just really, there was this really pretty green one I saw in one of the, like the glass cabinets, you know? So yeah, these got pretty detailed. I might have a third one here. This is one of like those corkscrew type ones. Yeah, so I think on this topic of texture and how texture kind of distracts us from, like, it's never the main deal, you know? So I thought I would maybe just populate this border that I painted red, like burgundy color with shells, and you know, that might bring me back to approaching the main painting with less fear, you know? I feel like these are kind of like rendering exercises, you know, painting the, you know, what is the color of the inside of the shell, you know, is it white, is it like light blue? So yeah, hopefully you'll help me return to this. So thank you guys. Okay, so we have our 4th shell done here. Let me show you the reference. One of the shells I found at the Natural History Museum, just gorgeous. So yeah, the one earlier I had was this one, just a beautiful green shell from Manus Island. Let's see, my favorite one is this one. Just huge, I guess it's an oyster, just like, just so insane. Here's some other ones. Just scroll down. Yeah, they have really cool shell collections. So yeah, maybe my next one will be this one. That's cute. Okay, that one's done. Okay, here is a Cotonia. Very oval shell. This one's a little more loose around the edges, which I kind of like.